The Golden Sisters' Downfall. In the Turner household, there were two sets of rules: Nora's rules and the ones everyone else had to follow. Nora was born into a halo of expectation. She was the first, the beautiful, the gift. When she failed her first semester of college because she spent her tuition money on a VIP table at a club in Miami, her parents, Richard and Phyllis, didn't scold her. They blamed the university for stifling her creative spirit. When she moved back home and refused to take a job at the local boutique because the manager expected her to actually fold clothes, her parents agreed that the work was beneath her dignity. Liza, born 6 years later, was always referred to as the happy surprise, though unplanned inconvenience felt more accurate. While Nora spent her 20s lounging by the pool of the Oakwood Country Club, a membership Richard and Phyllis paid for as an investment in her future marriage, Liza was working the 5 a.m. shift at a local bakery. By 24, Liza had a degree she'd paid for with 2 scholarships and 4 years of waitressing. She had a reliable, dented Toyota she'd bought with cash. Nora, meanwhile, drove a white Porsche Macan, a graduation gift for a graduation that never happened. One night after her obligatory Thursday family dinner, she was helping to clean up when her mom paused. "You have to understand, Liza," Phyllis said as she glanced towards Nora, who was getting her nails done in the living room by a mobile technician. "Nora has a certain standard to maintain. She's hunting for a specific kind of life. It takes resources to catch a big fish." Liza just nodded, adjusted her blazer as she said her goodbyes. Although she was frustrated by Nora's life choices and the fact that her parents paid for everything, she learned to accept it. She liked her job. She liked the feeling of her own paycheck. She liked that her car started because she'd paid for the new alternator herself. She liked her studio apartment filled with thrift store furniture she refinished herself. The big fish Nora was hunting remained elusive. Nora spent her days at the country club, draped in designer linen, nursing martinis, and scouting the wealthy men. She was 30 and increasingly bitter, her beauty sharpened by a growing sense of entitlement and a desperate need to be rescued from the suffering of living in a 5-bedroom house for free. Then came the grocery store. Liza was in the cleaning aisle, trying to grab a bottle of eco-friendly detergent, when she saw a man staring blankly at the wall of blue and orange jugs. He looked like he was trying to solve a complex physics equation. "The one in the white bottle is better for sensitive skin," Liza said, pointing, "but the pods are easier if you're prone to spilling." The man looked at her, looking immensely relieved. He was handsome in a rugged, unpolished way, wearing a plain charcoal t-shirt and jeans. "I've spent 20 minutes Googling this," he admitted with a sheepish grin. "I just moved into my own place. My, previous situation had a service for this." His name was Dylan. He was 25, and as Liza would soon learn, he was the son of one of the wealthiest tech moguls in the state. But Dylan had reached a breaking point, tired of being a pawn in his father's corporate games and weary of his mother's suffocating control. After their divorce the prior year, the pressure got worse. He had walked away from his trust fund that was used to control him. He'd taken a job as a mid-level project manager at a construction firm and moved into a 1-bedroom apartment where he was currently learning, through trial and error, how to be self-sufficient. They were a perfect match. Liza taught him how to meal prep and household management. Dylan taught her that she didn't have to carry the world on her shoulders. He loved her work ethic, she loved his humility. After 2 years of dating, Dylan proposed in that same grocery store aisle, kneeling between the bleach and the fabric softener. Liza said yes before he could even finish the sentence. The time finally came for the introduction dinner. Richard and Phyllis were nervous. They had heard Liza's fiancé was doing well in construction, which they interpreted as him being a foreman. They prepared a dinner that was ostentatious enough to make Liza feel small, but simple enough not to outshine the real event, Nora's announcement that she was considering a brand ambassadorship for a skincare line, which actually meant she was buying a starter kit for an MLM. Nora was in rare form. She wore a dress that cost more than Liza's first car, her hair blown out into golden waves. She sat at the head of the table, sipping wine and complaining about the low quality of men at the club lately. They're all so transactional. No one appreciates a woman of class anymore. Dylan followed Liza as she walked through the front door. "Just be yourself," she whispered, "and ignore Nora's comments about your shoes." They stepped into the dining room. He looked sharp in a navy blazer, holding a bottle of wine. "Good evening," he said politely. "I'm Dylan." The reaction was instantaneous, but not in the way Liza expected. Nora didn't just look at him. She turned a shade of white that matched her pearls. Her wine glass hit the tablecloth with a dull thud, purple liquid seeping into the white lace. "You?" Nora gasped, her voice cracking. Dylan froze. His polite smile vanished, replaced by a look of profound, icy recognition. "Oh," he said, his voice dropping an octave. "It's you." Richard and Phyllis looked back and forth, confused. "Nora, honey, do you know Liza's fiancé?" Phyllis asked. "Fiancé?" Nora screamed, standing up so fast her chair toppled over. "Liza, are you insane? Do you know who his father is? Do you know what he did to me?" Dylan crossed his arms, his face hardening. "My father didn't do anything to you, Nora. He barely knew your name. He's the one who had to hire a private security firm to keep you from jumping the fence of his estate at 2 a.m. Liza felt the world tilt. "What?" Phyllis and Richard both exchanged a shocked look. Dylan looked at Liza, his expression softening with regret. "Liza, I'm so sorry. I didn't put together that you two were related until just now. This is the woman who pursued my father for 6 months during my parents' divorce. She used her club access to stalk him. She used to send him photos of herself in his favorite restaurants, waiting for him. The board of Oakwood nearly revoked her membership because she made a scene at his birthday gala, claiming they were engaged." The room went silent. Richard and Phyllis looked at Nora, who was trembling with a mix of fury and humiliation. "He was the one," Nora shrieked, pointing a manicured finger at Dylan. "He's the reason Arthur filed the harassment claim at the club. He told his father I was a gold digger. He ruined my life." "I told my father you were unstable," Dylan corrected coldly, "and clearly I was right. I also told him about the 3 married men you had affairs with at the club." Phyllis let out an audible gasp as she covered her mouth in horror at that revelation. "You weren't in love with him, Nora. You were in love with his net worth. You harassed a grieving man who was going through a divorce because you thought he was your ticket to a permanent vacation." Nora let out a jagged, hysterical laugh. "And now you're with her? The accident? The charity case? You're rich. You're supposed to be with someone like me." Liza sighed. She didn't scream, she didn't cry. She looked at her sister, really looked at her, and saw the hollow, desperate shell that her parents' indulgence had created. Then she looked at Dylan, the man who had walked away from millions just to have the dignity of buying his own laundry detergent. "We're leaving," Liza said. "Liza, wait!" Phyllis cried, reaching out. "Nora is she's sensitive. Dylan, surely you can see there's been a misunderstanding." "There's no misunderstanding, Mom," Liza said, her voice steady. "For 26 years you've told me Nora was the one who deserved everything, and I didn't. I was the one who had to work for everything. Well, thank you. Because I worked hard, I found a man who loves and respects me for who I am. Because you gave Nora everything and never made her face consequences for her actions, she has nothing to show for her life beyond a reputation of being a desperate, home-wrecking gold digger." Liza took Dylan's hand. As they walked toward the door, Nora's voice followed them, shrill and breaking. "He's mine, Liza! That life was supposed to be mine!" They stepped out into the cool night air. Dylan exhaled a long, shaky breath. "I am so sorry. I should have made the connection." Liza leaned against the side of her Toyota, the one she'd bought herself. "Don't be. For the first time in my life, I think the balance of the universe actually leveled out." Inside the house, the golden child was sobbing on the floor under a ruined tablecloth, while her parents frantically tried to console her. They exchanged a knowing glance at the realization they enabled Nora's behavior to this inevitable breakdown. Liza started the car. It rumbled to life on the first try. They drove away, leaving the lights of the big house behind them, heading toward a small apartment they now share and a future they are building with their own two hands.
Thanks for listening to a Canoodle Mouse story. Leave a comment with your thoughts.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.